Welcome to the island of death once again. We are here in Season 3, Episode 2, not to follow the Indominus Rex or the Indoraptor on the loose. Right now, those two are resting, and they're probably going to be resting this whole episode. But shall we get started? We will start off this episode with a female Allosaurus looking for a new territory, as she is new to this island, and we haven't made her, but it's from the Mother Nature's core, which I'm sure you've seen before in Season 2. It is the Carnotaurus already having its territory and making sure nothing enters its territory. It is also looking for food. The Allosaurus sees something, but it is getting quite heated from this desert-like place. It feels like this isn't the territory for it, but it is also looking for food, so maybe it could find a food source. But while it continues walking, it sees something from the distance. The Carnotaurus also sees something too from the distance. Could this be a matchup? Or is this just a coincidence and they just see herbivores? In fact, is not a coincidence, as the Allosaurus is the one seeing the Carnotaurus, and the Carnotaurus is the one seeing the Allosaurus. Will this be a fight, or will they both just abandon each other? Well, it seems like they want to fight. They both size each other up. Getting ready to fight. The Allosaurus doesn't wait, as it is much more hungry and is so bloodthirsty. It is quite rare for a Carnotaurus to use its horns, but this Carnotaurus has more cons in fighting than pros, so that is something bad for the Carnotaurus. But after all, they're both hungry, so they do have to match up. Next, the Allosaurus bites the Carnotaurus's horns and makes it go to the ground. It bites off the horns, and then the Carnotaurus roars in pain. It runs away. The Gigantosaurus looks at the Tyrannosaurus cliff. It doesn't want to hunt down the Tyrannosaurus. It wants to do something much more different. The Tyrannosaurus is currently trying to get a human. This is a track truck. It was supposed to track the Indominus Rex. It's trying to get the human out so it could eat it, because it feels like this is an imposter and it hasn't been in the island. And in fact, it is right. It has not been on the island. But then it hears something. The Gigantosaurus looks at the Tyrannosaurus. It backs up because the Tyrannosaurus starts walking forwards. The Tyrannosaurus says, "What do you want?" The Gigantosaurus says this may mess up our ecosystem, but the Indominus Rex and the Indoraptor are messing up our ecosystem even more. This means that the Gigantosaurus wants to create a team with the Tyrannosaurus. The Tyrannosaurus does not know what the Indominus Rex or the Indoraptor is, but it accepts it, so then it has less of a big threat. Although there might be some other things that are big threats, but this one is just good news, for it can now team with something that has been its rival for such a long time. So it accepts and goes back to what it's been doing. But before it turns around again, it turns back around. The Allosaurus doesn't know whether it's a scavenger or a hunter. Right now it's trying to take the role of a scavenger. It gets out the human and runs. The Tyrannosaurus comes back to see no human in there after the negotiation. But on the bright side, it doesn't have to have any other threats, or at least it thinks that there's no more threats. It goes back to its cliff. But all of a sudden, a new part of the island has been discovered. The Allosaurus has finally, maybe finally, found some place that is balanced for it to hunt by itself. The Allosaurus finds a Stegosaurus grazing on some shrubs. The Stegosaurus knows that the Allosaurus is there. The Stegosaurus is trying to threaten this Allosaurus and trying to warn it. But the Allosaurus does not seem to care, since it hasn't gotten food in quite the time. So, the Stegosaurus gets in position, ready to fight. The Allosaurus, this time, does not go for its first move. The Stegosaurus gets ready for anything it has. But since the Allosaurus isn't doing anything, the Stegosaurus attempts. And it works. But it didn't get too much damage on the Allosaurus, as only tiny tips of the spikes got him. So then, the Allosaurus comes in for the neck. But then, once again, the Allosaurus gets hit. The Allosaurus isn't backing down this time. And this time he goes in for an aggressive one. The Stegosaurus tries calling for something, but it doesn't work. The Allosaurus does its final bite. The Allosaurus finds a territory in these sidelands is quite a mossy territory, but he won't be right into there. And plus, he's dragged this whole Stegosaurus and hasn't gotten even one intestine out of it. So now it thinks this will be the territory for it. And now it will start its feast. We are at the front islands now, where a lot of aquatic creatures are. But then we find another new thing from the Mother Nature core, which from here, it's pretty nearby. It's a Vegaceratops grazing on a few leaves. The Vegaceratops is by the small herd. The herd has split up, and some of the herd is somewhere else, unknown. Still not on our radar yet. But in the shade under a tree, there is a Ceratosaurus duo watching the herd. One of the Ceratosaurus strike or attempt to strike this Vegaceratops. Next, the female walks up. The Vegaceratops turns around. But as always, the herd's always got your back. The Diplodocus is threatening the two Ceratosaurus with its whip-like tail. It sounds almost like a gun. The two Ceratosaurus retreat